Democrats Nithya, Raman, and Karen Bass instantly regret stealing the election from Spencer Pratt the moment he dropped this brutal reality check that is already going viral on feeds like mine, and I'm sure you all will see soon as you're scrolling X and YouTube, browsing recommended videos on the homepage. In fact, the perceived expectation that they could easily sideline the outsider, certify their Democrat on Democrat runoff, and keep him quiet evaporates the second the late mail-in ballots are counted and the results are locked in. Go on ahead and certify them, Pratt says.
Now that the campaign portion of my mission to save Los Angeles is coming to a close and I'm moving on to the next, more interesting phase, listen, I've spent a lot of time slaying everybody. I've ridiculed everyone on the roster, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take the chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Now freed from campaign finance rules and CNN-friendly restraints, Pratt is coming for them with the recordings he was saving, the ones that could force one of them to resign in disgrace. And he's declaring it's straight up war for Los Angeles.
Think you can get rid of me that easily? I know a lot of dim-witted jerks thought I was in this for a grift, that I was gonna roll up and leave town if I didn't get into City Hall.
It's just not fair.
Hey, morons, I didn't get in this for political power. I got in this to expose this corrupt machine, and nothing has changed. You enjoy your worthless meetings in City Hall.
Nithya, you have all this information. You're running for mayor. Show what you're really about, or get the fuck out of the race.
I'm gonna be lighting you up every single day, and now I don't have to worry about offending CNN viewers. I don't have a campaign laws hamstringing me now. It's war. It's 0 hour for Los Angeles. Angelinos are now stuck with two morons responsible for all their problems, and they have to choose between Dumb and Dumber. That's not a choice. That's the machine protecting the machine. And now every problem that plagues Los Angeles because of these two corrupt communists is going to accelerate, and the city will tumble headlong into the abyss.
As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Got a lot to say on this topic, so make sure you watch till the end. You're not going to want to miss a moment, but let's jump into it. They thought that they got away with it, but California Democrats just walked straight into not just Pratt's trap, but Trump's too.
I hope the media looks at this election that's taking place in California, where they think it'll take 7 or 8 days to count the votes. Can you believe this? I mean, they spend all that money on the machines, the big voting machines. They think it's going to be 7 or 8 days before we know who won the election. But the numbers are looking strange because without any vote counting, the numbers dropped very precipitously for two Republicans that are doing well, that had been doing well. And I hope you're all watching it, because I'm watching it very closely.
15 states are you talking about?
I want to see elections be honest. And if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. But when you see some of these states about how horribly they run their elections, what a disgrace it is, I think the federal government, when you see crooked elections, and we had plenty of them, and by the way, we had them last time, but go to 2020 and look at the facts that are coming out. Rigged, crooked elections. If we have areas, take a look at Detroit. Take a look at Pennsylvania. Take a look at Philadelphia. You go take a look at Atlanta. Look at some of the places that horrible corruption on elections. And the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
But the Constitution says it should be states that administer elections, Mr. President.
And believe it or not, I don't even think this is the biggest story of the day, but it is most certainly a good one. And there's so much more that I must tell you all about, and how not only, holy mackerel, Spencer Pratt has secret tapes to end Raman and Bass, but Trump just did something America will never forget. And hey, Democrats, not so fast. This footage changes everything. So now, let's break this all down piece by piece, because the connections here are impossible to ignore. In Los Angeles, the primary results came in with Spencer Pratt sitting in a strong position after election night. Then the late mail ballots started dropping in batches. One dump alone added thousands of votes, with 0 going to Pratt and the overwhelming majority swinging straight to Nithya Raman. Raman, who had been trailing, suddenly surged past him while Karen Bass stayed steady. People watched the numbers flip in real time, myself included, and Raman had been even in a position where the outcome looked grim, decided against her at one point, her in tears conceding, yet the final certified results pushed her into the runoff against Bass. That's when Spencer Pratt dropped his video. He made it crystal clear he had recordings saved specifically for the general election, recordings of one of these candidates doing and saying things that would force a resignation in shame. And that's saying a lot, because most Democrats, as far as I can tell, have absolutely no shame. And I want to know from you all, what do you think it could be? Tell me in the comments, but at the same time, listen to this, because he told them straight up, go ahead and certify your choice. Pick your demon. Now that the campaign rules no longer apply to him, he's free to light it all up every single day. No more worrying about CNN viewers, no more campaign finance handcuffs. This is it. It's war. The gloves come off.
You have no idea how many major developers, hoteliers, business owners, entrepreneurs have been texting me saying they're packing up and leaving town. More of your favorite restaurants will be shuttering. That means less tax revenue. That means the city has to cut services, more potholes, less firefighters, less police patrols, more criminals, more drug addicts terrorizing your communities.
And we haven't ended it.
You have no idea how bad things are about to get for this city. Look at this place already. Weeds growing from every crack and crevice, graffiti over every square inch of public space, garbage, drugs, feces, burned up dogs, burned down towns, abandoned storefronts. This city is a mess, and you're about to reward the arsonist who torched a place with 4 more years of destruction?
I know he's very bitter.
My goal hasn't changed. I've been laser focused on stopping these commie animals, and I will stop them. If you think we uncovered a lot of fraud and evil in the campaign, just wait. We have some recordings of one of your exalted candidates doing and saying something that would make her resign in shame. I was saving it for the general election. Go ahead and pick your demon, certify your choice, and then you get to see it. So Karen, Nithya, ask yourself, is it possible that one of your employees may have a recording of you doing or saying something that would force you to resign in disgrace? Hope you sleep well at night over the next 5 months, because you know who hasn't slept well at all for the last 17 months? My mom. All my neighbors in the Palisades, all the moms who worry about their kids walking past drug addicts in front of their schools, all the business owners getting crushed in the LA economy, worried that they can't stay in business and feed their kids. Angelinos have been struggling for years now, all while corrupt politicians and fraudulent NGOs profit off the misery and fleece us for the tax dollars. Well, now we're flipping the script. I want all of you awake at night sweating and worried about 5 a.m. when the FBI blazers bust in the door, breaking open your office, because I assure you, they're coming. You think your election was gonna stop me? If you want to stop me,
You're gonna have to fucking kill me!
0 hour for Los Angeles, and that's exactly what California Democrats walked into, a shit show they created, and they're all covered in it. They thought sidelining Spencer Pratt would shut everything down and let them move forward with their preferred matchup, but instead, they removed the one thing that was holding him back. Now, the man they tried to bury is coming at them harder and with nothing left to lose. But this isn't happening in a vacuum, folks. No. The same pattern shows up in the new footage coming out of Skid Row. We talked about this during yesterday's show, remember? Oh, and thanks, by the way. The podcast from last night, will likely reach at least 100K views, 100,000 in 24 hours. And yeah, that ain't bad at all. Thank you for your support, your likes, your shares, and all the new subscribers joining us here. We're glad to have you here with us. But if you haven't seen it, then make sure you check it out next so you can see and hear from all the residents there on camera describing how they were approached repeatedly, multiple times a week, and offered small amounts of cash to sign ballots and vote specifically for Karen Bass and Nithya Raman. They were told not to vote for Pratt. Some even negotiated the amount right there on the street. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of on-the-ground operation that explains how vote totals can shift dramatically in the final counts. It lines up with the reports of ballot harvesting on a massive scale in California, where third parties can collect and submit ballots with very little oversight. Homeless individuals get ballots mailed to addresses they no longer live at, creating an easy opportunity for harvesting and misuse. And this is the system Democrats have defended for years, but now the evidence is piling up in public. And there's no amount of media-led spin and damage control that they can attempt to deploy to do anything that will stop this storm that it's coming, while at the same time, President Trump's administration just delivered something America will never forget.
The Trump administration coming to the rescue of unaccompanied migrant children abandoned, abused, and exploited after they were trafficked across the southern border under President Biden. The Department of Homeland Security revealing it has located about 146,000 minors so far, most of them in sanctuary cities. And Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche wants to crack down on the human smugglers who brought many of them here.
And you start hearing the absolute horrific things that took place underneath the Biden administration, under true neglect at best and criminal at worst, to allow 450,000 kids to go missing throughout this country. President Trump has made it a point to go find these kids.
They located roughly 146,000 migrant children who had gone missing under the previous border policies. Children who entered as unaccompanied minors and were lost in a system of fraudulent sponsorships and trafficking. Teams across multiple agencies worked together to find them, many of whom had been exploited, abused, or funneled into crime.
Good to see you, Shannon. You're
You too.
looking pretty in pink today.
Thank you. It's a Friday.
Molly Ringwald would be
One of my
jealous.
fave movies of all time.
So here's what Todd Blanche said was the plight of these unaccompanied migrants that were coming across the border during the Biden administration. Listen here.
The criminals, calling themselves sponsors, trafficked these children to the border, usually committing fraud to do so. And oftentimes the children were abused, assaulted, and certainly exploited.
And this just didn't happen 100 times or 1,000 times. It was hundreds of thousands of times.
Yeah, and they're pointing out specific cases, new indictments, but people have also been convicted already. And when you read the stories of what happened, how these people coached children through false identities, false documents to get them here so they could then sexually abuse them, it should turn everyone's stomach. It's disgusting. Politics aside, this is a tragedy. And they're talking about that they know of at least 15,000 super sponsors, meaning people who have taken custody of 3 or more kids that are unaccompanied minors. And remember, a lot of the DNA testing phased out under the Biden administration, where if somebody showed up at the border and it seemed like maybe there was something fishy, they were claiming a familial relationship. There would be some fast processing DNA. The Trump administration has brought back some of these fingerprinting and DNA and different checks because, we're talking about children. Nobody should care about politics when we're talking about kids.
Yeah, as to these super sponsors, they were sponsoring kids who were unrelated to each other, let alone to them. Here's what Todd Blanche said about that. Listen here.
In some cases, individuals would sponsor multiple children, which required them to lie to government personnel and on government forms, claiming they were close relatives when in fact they were not. They would use fake or stolen identities and make other false claims during the application process in order to obtain custody of the children.
And again, this didn't happen just a few times. This was rampant under the Biden administration.
Right. And the thing is, sometimes these families connected to these kids, they were all kind of doctored up to get these kids across the border, but there was money exchange. There was a debt then if coyotes had helped these kids to get across the border. So then the family or the child is in debt and has to work that off for the sponsor who's now brought them into the country in these cases. So it is shocking behavior. And the fact that, listen, the New York Times reported about this during the Biden administration, that there were tens of thousands that they found were missing then. So that is not a right-leaning publication or claim by a conservative group, but that's in the New York Times.
Indictments are already coming against smugglers who game the system. And I must say, again, this is what I voted for. This is accountability on a scale we haven't seen. It exposes years of deliberate policy failure that put American safety and these children last.
Because of our partnership with HHS and DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, truly using the best of the best, which the Democrats sometimes want to demonize, because a lot of times this is ICE, this is HSI, this is CBP. These individuals that the Democrats seem to want to defund, but because of President Trump, we finally funded them for 3 years. We're able to push and go find these kids. We found 146,000 kids so far. 146,000 kids. We still have nearly 300,000 missing. We're investigating reports to where some of these kids claim that they're 600 to 700 times. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have kids, if you don't have kids. I don't care if you're a liberal, you're independent, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. If you can't stand for law enforcement to go find these kids, who are you?
And the DOJ isn't stopping at the border. They're going after the election integrity issues in states like California that have been stonewalling for years. Federal requests for voter rolls to audit for non-citizen voting and other irregularities have historically been consistently met with refusal. But now there are actual lawsuits moving forward, inspections happening in places like Los Angeles County, and a real push that could force transparency across multiple blue states. But let's be honest, call a spade, because the bottom line is California's resistance isn't protecting anything. It's building the federal case against the very practices that allowed these suspicious ballot dumps and harvesting operations to thrive. Put it all together, and the picture is devastating for Democrats. All right, y'all, let's hit pause for a second because this matters and it's really important. We talk a lot on this channel about taking control of your life, making smart choices, and not letting the system overwhelm you. But when it comes to navigating Medicare, it can feel like you're wading through a swamp of total confusion. Plans, coverage, costs, deadlines, you name it. And that's where Chapter steps in. They're not just another company. They're the real deal when it comes to free Medicare help. Chapter's team of advisors has helped thousands of people across the country find the right Medicare plan, and they do it with one goal in mind: putting you first. No fees, no pressure, just honest guidance to make sure you're covered without breaking the bank. Big insurance companies have their own agendas, but Chapter's got your back, fighting to get you the plan that works for you. So if you're approaching Medicare age or helping a loved one figure it out, don't go it alone. Call Chapter today at 270-467-2426 and start getting the clarity you deserve. Because at the end of the day, protecting your health and your wallet, well, that's not just smart. It's living life on your terms. And while this is unfolding, the left is out there right now pushing the same tired distractions and outright lies to try and change the subject. You see it everywhere, or at least I do. And I make sure to collect my research and thoughts to then curate, to deliver in a nice little podcast package to bring to you. Claims that success, like Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire, proves the system is rigged against regular people.
50 and we're open. So trade, SpaceX, and $150 a trade here at the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol SPCX. This is an IPO that raised $75 billion. Again, the price that it priced at was $135. It's open for trade at $150.
There it is. There's the moment. Got it on up 11%. Let's listen in.
We are officially open. $150 on Nasdaq.
lot of energy in the room. You can tell that there is applause, excitement, hugs, smiles. I mean, there are a lot of employees who started here day one in 2002, and so they've been waiting for this moment. I spoke to 2 engineers here who said their compensation package was 100% equity. They didn't even have any salary. So for them, this is the moment. They actually get to make it big and also think about what's next for them. I asked that one of the IT engineers who is going to be making over $10 million whether he plans to retire. He said no. He has so much pride that has been attached to SpaceX and its story. He's going to ride this one out.
They say a typical American household would have to work millions of years to reach that level. And so we need to punish wealth with new taxes. We need a wealth tax, Elizabeth Warren says. Mind you, Dr. Clown, PhD, asks, hey, Grok, how much is Elizabeth Warren worth? And how many days would a typical American household have to work to reach her level of wealth? To which Grok replies, Elizabeth Warren's net worth is estimated at about $8 million. Quiver Quantitative has her roughly $7.1 million in 2025. Open Secrets and Forbes historically have her at anywhere from $7 to $12 million ranges from disclosures, books, retirement accounts, and home equity. And using the same comparison method as the Elon Musk post, median U.S. household income at roughly about $83,000, a typical American household would need to work roughly 96 years or about 35,000 days to accumulate that level of wealth. But how convenient. Her wealth is well below the $50 million threshold in the wealth tax she has proposed. They cry like Gavin Newscam that posted this to Elon's X platform about how Americans are struggling with groceries and gas while one man gets rich, and they blame it all on some rigged system where the rich get richer and everyone else gets shafted. The system is rigged, he says. Man, talk about the pot calling the kettle retarded and black because he scored low on his SATs and can't read good. But he could read good enough to sign an executive order basically blocking any investigations into his planned illegal California voting rigging scheme, right? Well, let's call that out for exactly what it is: pure hypocrisy and a deliberate distortion of reality. Newscomb is good at that, and about the only thing that he's good at besides screwing over Californians. But first, the elephant in the room, this so-called rigged system line, where the same voices screaming that today are the same ones who spent years defending and running the exact system in California that just produced those suspicious late ballot dumps in Los Angeles. They're the ones who built and protected ballot harvesting rules that make it easy for third parties to collect and submit ballots with almost no oversight. They're the ones whose cities have Skid Row residents openly saying they were paid cash on the street to vote specific ways. They're the ones whose state has stonewalled federal requests for voter rolls for years, forcing lawsuits and on-the-ground inspections just to check for basic integrity. And now they have the nerve to call the system rigged when actual innovators and job creators succeed. That's not analysis. That's projection from the people who got caught manipulating outcomes in their own backyard. And second, the wealth tax push and the typical household would have to work millions of years nonsense. Yeah, well, this isn't about fairness. It's about punishing people who build things that create real value for millions. Elon Musk didn't inherit a fortune or game a government contract. No, he built companies that employed tens of thousands, created thousands of millionaires through stock and growth, and delivered technologies that actually moved the country forward. He's already paid more in taxes than most people will ever see in a lifetime, billions of dollars. The idea that we need to seize more because someone succeeded at this scale ignores what that success actually produced: jobs, innovation, and opportunity that lifted far more people than any wealth redistribution scheme ever has, nor ever will. And the hypocrisy is glaring.
Yeah, okay. Well, the typical American would have to lie about being Native American, then get elected into public office and sell out the American people to Big Pharma if we wanted to have the same amount of wealth that Elizabeth Warren currently has. She's the biggest hypocrite known to man, probably. One of the worst in politics, worst in history, actually. Never mind that Elon Musk has already paid the single largest amount in taxes in the history of this country. He paid $11 billion, with a B, $11 billion in 1 year. What did you scumbags do with it? You turned around, you gave it to Somali fraudsters, you sent it to Ukraine, you gave it to the NGOs, you gave it to anybody and everybody except helping American citizens. You guys have more than enough money coming in right now. You don't need more money. We got to get people like you out of office. This is insane. Absolutely. The fact that these people think that more money would solve their problems. You know, they believe we can just tax and spend our way out of this mess. How about we start cutting taxes and start cutting spending even more than we're cutting taxes and get back to the role of the federal government? Because what we have right now is not the role of the federal government. It is not the role of the federal government to be everybody's mommy and daddy out here. That's not the role of the federal government, and we're sick of it.
Elon's money doesn't belong to anyone but Elon. The left hates that for some reason. They absolutely hate it. $11 billion in 1 year, and people still want more taxes from him? The system punishes producers and rewards the grifters in DC. That math just never adds up. It's truly insane. The politicians pushing this the hardest have built their own wealth through politics, books, speaking gigs, and family connections, while, amongst other things, California, under their watch, turned into a place where regular families are crushed by taxes, housing costs, homelessness, and crime. And heck, don't just take my word for it. Just look at what Graham Stephan laid out in his recent video. How many of you are subscribed to Graham's channel or watch any of his videos? Because I'm genuinely curious, but here's the long and short of it. He's selling his California home because he's been forced to after trying to rent it out, and it has become straight up financial suicide for landlords in the new scam-led state. Between the crushing regulations, skyrocketing insurance costs, endless bureaucracy, and tenant protections that make it nearly impossible to run a property profitably, even experienced investors are being forced out. That's what the politicians built while they got rich off politics, books, and connections, a state where regular families and even property owners can't survive anymore. Watch. Just look at what Graham Stephan said in his own words, or listen to it when he decided to sell everything in California.
What's up, guys? It's Graham here. So I really didn't want to make this video. In fact, I've been putting it off for months because I don't like airing out my grievances to millions of people, but I have just had enough. I am tired of dealing with failed California policies, red tape, restrictions, and endless bureaucracy to the point where I'm going to start selling off everything that I own there. Honestly, the situation there has just gotten so bad that I can't justify investing any more money into a city that's obviously headed down the wrong direction. So yeah, I'm going to talk very openly about what's been going on these last few months, with the hope that sharing my story could help a few people avoid the same mistakes as I've made, or best case scenario, we could find a solution for a city that is obviously very broken.
Yeah, and so there's that. But I digress, and I would be remiss if I failed to remind you all about how they all want to lecture everyone about the rich getting richer while they live in compounds and vineyards and fly private. They attack success while their own policies chase companies and talent out of the state. They claim the system is rigged for the wealthy, yet they're the ones who rigged election processes to stay in power when the votes didn't go their way. This is the same crowd that spent years denying or downplaying any questions about election integrity until the evidence from places like Los Angeles started hitting too hard to ignore. They called it conspiracy when people pointed out impossible vote dumps and harvesting. Yeah, conspiracy. But now that Spencer Pratt is free and the recordings are coming, and federal pressure is building on voter rolls and audits, suddenly they're the ones screaming about rigged systems. I think, Hakeem Jeffries even got caught on a hot mic with that one here too recently.
There is no election fraud in California. Donald Trump is making it up. He can't point to a shred of evidence to prove his point. This is all a conspiracy theory. We believe that we have to operate under the assumption that Republicans are going to do everything they can to try to rig the midterm elections. Because the reality is they have no track record of accomplishment, no vision to present to the American people.
But it's not the innovation system that's rigged. It's the one they controlled and blew strongholds for decades. The truth is simple, and it's coming out fast. You don't get to steal elections through manipulated counts and harvesting, then turn around and cry wolf that capitalism is rigged when someone actually delivers results.
Elon Musk is officially the world's first trillionaire. Think about that. We're living at a time when more and more people are just hanging on by their fingernails to survive in this economy. And Elon Musk has more money and more wealth than anyone in human history. I want to be clear. This is not just some fluke. It is a feature of a rigged economy. Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill cut healthcare for millions of Americans to give guys like Elon bigger tax breaks. The tax code rewards CEOs for firing workers and replacing them with AI. Loopholes have allowed Jeff Bezos to pay an effective tax rate lower than a Boston public school teacher. And we are left with a country where a handful of billionaires at the top pop champagne in their $300 million yachts, while working people take on even more shifts to try to pay off their student loan debt. The top 1% of U.S. earners now have more wealth than the entire middle class. We need to overhaul our tax code. We need a wealth tax. And it's about time that corporations paid their fair share. Today's marker should be a wake-up call that enough is enough. Time to make change.
But you see, there's just one big problem with everything she just said. And yes, Cat Turd is right. Pocahontas only wants the government to be trillionaires by taxing you to death. They produce nothing. They just steal your money. But not only that, but they lie to you too. And these comments are absolutely epic. A fake Native American multimillionaire with homes in Cambridge and DC kvetching about someone richer than her from the comfort of her chauffeured limo. You can't make this up. It's not money, it's assets. He doesn't have $1 trillion in cash. Good Lord, this is one stupid bitch. She's okay with government having or taking trillions from taxpayers. Jealous she is. We all have the opportunity, just got to choose how to do it. Work for your free, endless money potential. Work for someone's dream and you'll be limited, but still can be lucrative. Musk only owns a share of the companies he created. If he's worth $1 trillion, imagine how much wealth he created for the US. In the trillions, not to count jobs he created and value he creates for customers. Pocahontas is a leech that creates no value. She destroys it. Her and Bernie Sanders and AOC too. Not one of them have so much as created a single millionaire. Well, besides themselves, of course. Elon just created 4,400 millionaires. Socialism versus capitalism. There's a massive difference between the two. And I know what side I'm on. Elon employs roughly 160,000 Americans and in one morning created thousands of millionaires. What have you done, Elizabeth? You've done nothing for America. As Bull Theory points out here, how a man working as a welder at SpaceX for $28 an hour has just become a millionaire. Juan Hernandez, who came here from Mexico, welded rockets for SpaceX at $28 an hour. SpaceX gave him $10,000 in stock when he went full-time in 2015, and he bought more with every paycheck for 10 years. Ticker symbol $SPCX is now trading at $167 at the time of recording, making his shares worth over $1 million.
How did you end up with a job at SpaceX?
And a friend that I met at another job ended up in SpaceX. And then he called me. I told him, I don't even know what SpaceX is, but let's go,
Hernandez says he worked there for 10 years, rising to supervisor, still holding 6,500 shares of SpaceX.
How much money do you stand to make in this IPO?
At opening, it's going to be like around, $880,000.
$880,000.
Yes. As an immigrant, I was always taught just to work hard, do the best I can what I do. And thanks to SpaceX, you see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Do you feel like you've achieved the American dream?
Yeah, but there's no reason to stop.
Another case shared by the global watchdog and Trevor Heiss, a former SpaceX launch engineer, joined straight out of college in 2011. He accumulated over 100,000 shares gradually over his 12 years at the company between 2011 and 2023. Today, those shares are now worth roughly $13.5 million plus from the IPO. He's since stepped into semi-retirement.
Are you a new millionaire today, sir?
I can't say.
You can't say? but you might be.
I might be.
Do you own shares of SpaceX?
Yes, I do.
What can I ask you what you do here?
Process planner.
Process planner? So, assuming you are a millionaire, which you probably are, what are you gonna do?
Try to stay healthy.
That's a good plan, right?
Number one.
Yes, sir. So how do you feel about this IPO today?
Great.
You feel good about it?
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Elon is the best. Go Elon.
This is why capitalism is much more effective at creating wealth than socialism is. That and hate, of course, will inevitably end up getting you nowhere in life.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling you.
You're such a loser. You're such a loser. But after Tim Walz said this, Tesla is up 80%. SpaceX went public. Elon Musk has become a trillionaire with a T, ladies and gentlemen. Benny Johnson here, sending thoughts and prayers to Tim in this tough time. This is the same guy who was out there basically cheering for the stock to go down, wishing failure on investors and on the very companies building the future. And here's the part that makes it even dumber. Plenty of Minnesota state employees and government workers have their pensions and retirement funds tied directly to Tesla stock through their investment portfolios. Walz was sitting there as governor for the time being, rooting against the performance of assets that literally helped fund the retirements of the people he was supposed to be looking out for. That's not leadership. That's pure political spite theater with zero understanding of how any of this works. He's preaching to the choir, so to speak, the same financially dumb and illiterate crowd the media has spent years convincing to hate Elon Musk now. These are the people who'll laugh and cheer when they hear a politician trash success, even while they're riding around in Tesla cars, if they can even afford one, or more so realistically, getting picked up and dropped off by an Uber or Lyft driver who's driving one. They benefit from the technology, the jobs, the innovation every single day, but they've been trained to root against the guy who created it all because the media told them he's a villain. Meanwhile, the real story is how wealth actually gets built. It's not by wishing companies fail or by government handouts. It's by taking risks, creating products people want, employing thousands, and delivering value on a massive scale. Elon did that. What has Tim Walz ever done besides steal valor? It's okay. I'll wait. Tampon Timmy, he's the guy who cheered when it looked like it might go the other way. And that's his pathetic claim to fame, I guess. But here's what really matters. And this is the part they don't want you talking about. While Tim Walz was busy playing class warfare on Success, there are demons lurking in the shadows of his own closet that are finally coming into the light. And I want you all to check this out. Search it up. The title is Tim Walz named in suspect's writings, now a guilty plea. This video breaks down how Tim Walz was named in the suspect's own writings in the murder case of Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband. The guy who carried out those attacks, Vance Bolter, pleaded guilty to multiple federal counts, but in his notebook and a letter to the FBI, he mentioned Walz directly, claiming things like orders or involvement in targeting lawmakers. Authorities are calling it delusional, but the fact that Walz's name even shows up in the writings of a man who assassinated a sitting Democratic speaker raises serious questions that still haven't been fully answered. This is the same Tim Walz who was supposedly in charge when major fraud was happening right under his nose in Minnesota, the kind that stole billions in taxpayer money. Now his name is popping up in connection with political violence and murder investigations. These aren't coincidences. There are no such things as coincidences. This is the pattern of a man who talks a big game about caring for regular people while the bodies and the scandals pile up around him. The media psyop keeps trying to paint Elon as the problem and Tim Walz as some folksy everyman, but the results speak for themselves. One side builds trillion-dollar companies that move humanity forward. The other side roots for failure, protects fraud, and ends up with their name in a killer's notebook. Meanwhile, 386 days after Elon's alleged supposed decline and fall, he's the world's first trillionaire. The media truly does suck. Just like the fraud who's friends with school shooters sucks. This is why these conversations matter. This is why I keep showing you the receipts, because the people who cheer for the decline of Success are the same ones who've been running things into the ground for years. And that's how you know exactly who not to follow. So now may be no better time than ever to ask you to subscribe. It really does help out a lot. But it isn't just Tim Walz and Elizabeth Warren or Gavin Newsom, even though Newscam posts this ridiculous claim here saying Americans are struggling to pay for groceries and gas while Elon Musk becomes a trillionaire. When the federal government is for sale, the rich get richer and everyone else gets shafted. For which Newscom is quickly and promptly put back in his place by Steve Hilton, who says, Californians are struggling to pay for groceries and gas because of your policies, Gavin. Californians are getting shafted by you. The system is rigged by you. Instead of posting divisive nonsense, why don't you try and do something that, I don't know, cuts people's costs? Oh, wait. Because you're incapable of doing anything useful. Yeah, that'll have to wait until I'm governor. Change is coming. And I just love it. I just love it for California. And I'm happy to see so many on the left coast tuning in. Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you, brother Jeffrey Mead here with another truth bomb in response to Graham Plattner for Senate, who says, Elon Musk just became the world's first trillionaire. Let's make sure he's also the last. And I agree. I agree. I agree with Jeffrey here, of course, who tells Plattner, you're such a loser. Let's make sure no one else invests their own money, builds companies worth trillions, and becomes a trillionaire due to the value their companies provide. Let's cap people's success so we can steal ownership of their companies and give it to the government. Yeah, not. And besides his affiliations and tattoo choices, this DNC socialist, communist ideology and rhetoric is too a choice. Elon's creating millionaires and employees while Dems bitch, moan, and complain through lies on CNN while cheating and rigging schemes produce unimaginable mail-in ballot results on top of cutting jobs and funding for the very people billionaires and trillionaires like Elon Musk are hell-bent on helping create.
You told my colleague Jessica Dean last month that you no longer believe in defunding the police. That's a reversal from how you campaigned in 2020. Now you say that you don't want the LAPD to lose more officers. Your fellow council member, Monica Rodriguez, told the LA Times that your comments don't match your voting history, saying, quote, this is a political moment for her to pretend that she's showing up as an advocate when her actions are quite the opposite, unquote. So it is true you voted against increasing pay for police, citing the city's budget deficit. So theoretically, how can you encourage more officers to join the force if they're starting off with fairly low salaries in a city where housing is prohibitively expensive?
Well, I believe that city workers should be paid well, and I've supported multiple budgets that have provided for maintaining and even expanding our police force. But I have voted against raises for police officers that bankrupted the city, and that actually left the city worse off in terms of public safety outcomes. We now have 1,500 fewer officers in LAPD, and we're paying $500 million more per year for them.
Empty houses for homeless people is a way better taxpayer-funded option. Easy to steal tax money that way. California and Democratic government is such a joke. How? How can we tax hardworking people even harder is what they all think when they roll out of bed in the morning. How can Dems put those tax dollars into their own personal accounts? That's all these lefties and politicians think of. Look, I don't even live in California, and I'm so disappointed this is what they have as an option. It's absurd. Just look at the demonic smirk on her face. Lady, like, this is a serious topic here, a topic that would be incomplete had we not included Obama at least once throughout all of this grift. And stick with me here, folks, because now I want you all to watch this clip. It's the perfect example of the exact same grift pattern.
It's amazing and doing great. Under the Obama-Biden administration's radical environmentalists drastically restricted access for fishermen in coastal communities. Hundreds of thousands of square miles of ocean was cut off for them. They can't fish. Other people could fish. They couldn't. These people weren't allowed to fish. Can you imagine that? Did you ever think that was going to happen as you grew up? Probably as the sons and daughters of fishermen, right? That someday they were going to take away the right for you to go fishing in the Pacific Ocean. What a bunch of dopes. Those decisions closed off vast resources and really the richest fishing grounds, they say, anywhere in the world. Destroyed livelihoods and made the United States more dependent on foreign products. And I did a similar thing for Maine. Maine is very much in the subject because I have a pig running for the Senate. He's a pig. It's not a senator. It's a joke. He's a con man. But so it's in the plan. And you know, I won half of Maine. They have two. I won the one by a lot. Fishermen, actually, come to think of it. Fishermen and the lumberjacks, people that go out there and work. I won them. So I love Maine. But it's amazing. They had I think it was 500 mile by 500 mile, massive amount of the Atlantic Ocean. You weren't allowed to fish, but Canada was. Japan was. They all came in and fished, but our people weren't allowed to fish there. That was put in by Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? Barack Hussein Obama and Sleepy Joe Biden.
Wow. Just wow. You see what they did? Obama closed off 500,000 square miles of American waters so only foreign nations could fish there. American fishermen, the ones who actually live here, pay taxes here, and feed their families here, got locked out. We became a net importer of seafood while our own waters sat unused by our own people. Then Trump opens it back up and suddenly we're eating fish caught by Americans again.
Do we like to speak? Yeah, go ahead.
So this action, 500,000 square miles were closed to American fishermen. You couldn't go and fish 500,000 square miles. I mean, just think of how big that is. And if you had an American flag, you weren't allowed there. But of course, everybody else went. So they went in our waters. These are our waters. And so what did that result in? That resulted in us, instead of having seafood exports, because we have great fishing opportunity, we were an importer. We became an importer of seafood. How crazy is that? So the president is finally changing that. This is a massive win for our fishermen, massive win for our waterfront communities who process it, all these processors. And in the end, we are going to eat fish caught by us. What a shock! Eating fish caught by us in our waters. So this is just common sense, smart. We already have the best conservation rules in the world, and this was one on top of another on top of another. So thank God from the fisherman's perspective, and I get these calls all the time, that President Donald Trump is in this office because he's finally letting our great fishermen and fisherwomen get out there and catch fish and stop importing fish. Let's eat fish caught by Americans.
Thank you. Amen. Thank you.
Simple, direct, America first. This is the same mindset we've seen in California and with these Democrats all along. They don't build, they restrict, they tax harder, they rig the system, and they pocket the difference while regular people suffer. They cut jobs and funding for the very workers they claim to protect, and then turn around and act shocked when someone like Elon Musk steps in and actually creates opportunity instead of extracting it. Alex Hormozi has some of the clearest wisdom on this, folks. And now I'm curious, how many of you follow or are subscribed to and watch Alex Hormozi? Because I just watched this video of his where he breaks down trust into 4 types based on who takes the risk and who does the punishing. The key test for trusting anyone in business, in relationships, or in politics is simple. Do they have a track record of protecting what you've given them? And does betraying you cost them more than protecting you?
Why don't you trust me? Right? It's something that we might say to somebody, or you might say the reverse is like, just trust me. And that word, people have a very hard time of knowing, like, what the hell does it even mean? What does trust even mean? And so this is a departure from my normal business content, but I think you will like it, or at least I do. And so I was thinking about this because someone recently was like, hey, trust me. And I was like, huh, that's an odd command. What does that even mean? And so I want to break down, number one, what does trust actually mean from a behavioral perspective? How can I look at someone and say, trust has occurred here, right? And then are there different types of trust so that, which is what confuses this whole thing, because there isn't just one, there's actually 4. And this was after actually thinking about this one statement that a friend made to me. And so the 4 types of trust actually correspond with 2 big variables, which is who's at risk and who does the punishing. So whoa, slow down. So you're saying trust is about punishment? The answer is yes. So if I trust someone, it means that I make myself punishable by them. So for example, if I say, I'm going to share a secret with you, then it means I give you something that you can punish me with. And the idea is that I believe I'm making a bet that you're not going to punish me. And that's the risk, right? And so the idea is we have you who are at risk, so you, risk, and then we have the other person punishing, right? That's the first type. The second type of risk.
Look at these Democrats and the media through that same lens. Their track record is right there in front of you. in front of us, rigged ballots, closed fishing grounds, billions stolen in fraud schemes they were warned about, the policies that crush the very people they're supposed to serve. Betraying the public has never cost them anything. In fact, it's been rewarding with power, money, and media protection. That's why you can't trust them. Their incentives are all wrong. They profit from the lie, not from delivering results. Hormozy also says trust means making yourself punishable by the other person, and that the more context they have on you, the more they can hurt you if they choose to. These politicians and media types have had decades of context on the American people, and they've used it to hurt us every chance they got. Meanwhile, someone like Elon puts skin in the game, builds real value, creates millionaires, and takes the risk himself. His track record shows he protects what he builds and what others invest in him. And that's why people follow him, and that's why companies thrive under him. The liars and the grifters, yeah, they preach ideology. They smirk on CNN. They rig elections and they close off opportunities so only their friends can benefit. Hormozy would tell you, as I am, to judge them by the same standard you'd use in business. Ignore the words, watch the actions, and ask if screwing you over is a bad deal for them. Because with these people, it never has been. That's the difference. One side creates, the other side extracts and destroys. I don't know how else to put it. One side opens doors for Americans, the other side locks them and sells the key to the highest bidder or the foreign fleet. We're seeing the full picture now, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, the grift runs deep, from local ballot dumps in Los Angeles all the way up to national policies that hurt working people for decades. But the good news is the same principles that expose the liars also show us exactly who to follow and who to build with. Elon and people like him are doing the work. The rest, they're just running the same old con until enough of us stop falling for it. As I hope that includes you. And if so, or if not, either way, then you might want to consider joining our private community. That link is down below. And look, here's the way I see it. You don't get to defend open borders and trafficking networks that lost track of over 100,000 children and then pretend you care about regular Americans when the new administration starts cleaning it up and holding people accountable. And you don't get to push class warfare on success while your own cities collapse under the weight of the policies you forced on them. This is why the picture is so devastating for them right now. Every layer is being peeled back at once. The local election games in Los Angeles, the street level vote buying, the statewide resistance to basic transparency, and the national pattern of the previous border chaos. Spencer Pratt isn't going away. The DOJ pressure isn't going away. The footage and the recordings aren't going away. And the American people are watching the same people who rigged the game for years suddenly pretend that they're the victims of a rigged game. They thought that they could get away with it. But little did they know, California Democrats just walked straight into not just Pratt's trap, but Trump's too. The same machine that thought late ballot dumps and quiet harvesting would protect their power is now facing an unleashed outsider with the receipts and a federal government that is finally auditing the rot instead of protecting it. Holy mackerel. Spencer Pratt has secret tapes to end Raman and Bass, and he's just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. Our president, Trump, just did something America will never forget, locating those missing children and going after the networks that exploited them. Hey, Democrats, not so fast. The new footage changes everything. The excuses are dead. The evidence is public. And the people who thought they could keep lying their way through another cycle are the ones getting exposed on every front at the same time. The storm, I have to correct myself, the storm isn't coming. Matter of fact, it's here, and it's only going to get stronger already. In California, the same machine that spent billions on homelessness with zero real improvement is now facing exposure on multiple fronts, paid votes on the streets, manipulated ballot counts in key races, and a federal government no longer willing to look the other way. The runoff between Raman and Bass was supposed to be their safe internal fight. Instead, it's turning into a spotlight on everything they've tried to hide. This is the beginning of the end of the old way of doing business in places like California. The trap has closed and the reckoning is here. Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned, friends, because there's a whole lot more coming. Thanks for rocking with me, and I'll see you on the next one.